When I think back on my life so far, there are certain memories that just stick with me. And I just think about time. Time is so important. It's really valuable. And each moment that we live is important. And so reading through scripture and seeing that, you know, God sees time. He sees a day like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years like a day. And I just really just sit and reflect on that and how important being here is, you know, for me with you and for you with me. I want to talk about my dad. And I want to talk about the relationship that I have with my dad and how that directly relates to the relationship that I have with my heavenly dad. And Andrew and I were talking about this the other day. If you know me, then you know my dad. And if you know my dad, then you know me. And as a Christian, if you know me and you know God, that is the biggest compliment I can ever receive. So people ask me, what religion are you? What do you believe in? I say, well, by my actions, if you think that I'm a Christian, then I've done my job. I'm going to talk about three things. I'm going to talk about things that have to do with passion, things that have to do with purpose, but most importantly, perspective. So we'll talk about my dad. My dad was born prematurely. He almost died. So his life was almost over before it even started. In his youth, his dad and his mom divorced. So he had to make a choice at a young age to help out the family. Him and my Aunt Bridget, they had to make a choice to give up certain things because they need money. They need to put food on the table. They need a roof over their heads. Because when they were divorced, it was at a time when you don't get divorced. And so it was a new thing. So my pops, he had dreams of playing baseball. He had dreams of just living a regular life, and he didn't have that. And so for whatever reason, my grandfather divorced my grandmother. It led my dad down this path of work and making choices that would affect his well-being in terms of necessity. So he married my mom at 21, and they started their life. There are certain things that would stick with me from when I grew up listening to my dad talk about his life. He'll tell me a story about how there was bacon on the table and he was a kid. This is back when his parents were still together, and he loved bacon. He just wanted to have as much bacon as he can have. And his dad reprimanded him for trying to have more than 2 pieces of bacon. And that just stuck with him, and stuck with me. Because when I grew up, and I'm still growing up, when we have breakfast at my parents' house and there's bacon, you can have as much as you want. That story it just makes me think about the effect of my grandfather on my father, and how my father translated that to his effect on me. He didn't have a dad, and his passion growing up was to never allow that to happen to his kids one day. So, when we were born, 3 sisters, a brother, my dad made a promise to us, to my mom. He's always going to be around. That whatever we needed, it was going to be provided, no matter what. He will find a way. And he did. And so, I grew up in a household that was very old-fashioned. My dad didn't tell me he loved me with words. He just showed me every day. My mom was the same way. They showed love. And so there were these moments that stick with me. Sitting in the family room, I'm sitting with my dad, watching movies. Grew up watching movies as a kid with my pops. One of his ways to recharge his batteries. But I remember him just looking at me, and I was really young. I was probably 8 years old, 9 years old. Listening, hey, whatever you want to do in life, I'm gonna support you. You just focus. Whatever, if you ever need anything, you will have it. So, I listened to my pops tell some stories about playing Little League and his passion for the game. It was something that was robbed from him because he had to quit playing to work, put food on the table. And so in school, we got this little pamphlet for Little League. So if you want to come play at this Little League, sign up for this weekend, $60 for a uniform and an opportunity. And I just ran home with the paper, gave it to my family. My dad looked at it, he's like, do you want to play? Sure. It sounds fun. So, okay, so we signed up. It takes a couple, back in the days we called Price Club. And we got these Franklin gloves for like $50. And I was just looking at it like, okay, this is cool, it's a toy, My pops takes us to the park and he's just testing to see what my brother and I can do. And my brother and I thought it'd be fun to just throw this ball as far as we could over his head. So my pops probably still doesn't know it to this day, but we were throwing it over his head on purpose, just to show off our arms. And he was probably just like, oh man, they have good arms, not thinking that we're like purposely making them chase this ball. Sorry, Pops, but it was fun. We didn't know. Going through Little League and seeing that we have a natural ability, and my pops kind of just nourishing it, not pressing it on us, because his dad pressed things on him, like not having an extra piece of bacon. That was a rule. So he's like, I don't want my son to be doing something that he doesn't want to do. I want him to want to do something. So anyway, back to the Little League. One memory that sticks with me. I'm standing in the box. I got this wooden bat. My pop said, if you're gonna learn how to hit, you're gonna learn how to hit with wood, and then you can go to metal. So okay, trust me. He said, trust me. Okay, stand in the box, and I'm like 8 years old, and I'm just standing there. First, he's actually here. Backtrack a second. The Little League, they needed volunteer umpires. And my pops is a guy, like, if something needed to be done and no one else is there that's already going to do it, my pops is going to do it because he's going to do it the right way. So my pops is like, all right, if no one's here, I'll umpire. And even though he just wants to watch me play, he'll umpire the game. So now we're in the game. My dad is umpiring. I'm standing in the box. First pitch from the pitcher, right down the middle, strike one. Okay, caught your pops, all right. Second pitch, right down the middle, strike two. All right. Third pitch, oh, right down the middle. Strike three. I go to the dugout, I put my hands on the fence, and I'm crying. My dad just struck me out. He'll tell you the story now. It's probably one of the hardest things he ever had to do. But he wasn't going to give me anything that I didn't deserve. And it stuck with me. Move forward a little bit in life, and my grandmother needs some piping work done in her house. And I'm with my pops, and we drive over, and he's looking at the work, and he's fretting it because it's going to be a longer job. And he pauses for a second, and he has a piece of pipe, and and he's showing it to me. He's like, all right, it's gonna take a little longer and it's gonna be a little more expensive, but we're gonna use copper pipes and we're gonna reroute this the right way so that this will last a longer time before we have to come fix it again. If we're gonna do it the right way, no matter the cost or the length of time. And that just stayed with me. It stayed with me to think about, yeah, it's gonna take a little longer to do something and it's gonna be a little more expensive, but you know what? It's the right thing to do. For not just for grandma, but for whoever lives in the house afterwards. He had this perspective of why we do the job right the first time. And it stuck with me. And I go to high school, play baseball, I'm doing okay. And you know, from 10 to 15, probably, baseball just came really easy for the most part. We just played Little League, made a little travel ball here and there. But I finally had some real adversity in the game. And I was thinking about quitting. And I actually told my dad one day, I was like, you know, I don't know if I can play this anymore. It's just not fun. It's too hard. And my dad just looked at me, he's like, okay, that's your decision. So for 1 month of my life, I do not remember anything of what happened. I just know that I did not play baseball. And a tryout came about for a travel ball team, a high school travel ball team. And my pop's just like, hey, there's this tryout that your friend's going to, you want to go? It's like, sure, I got nothing else better to do. So we go, and I'm standing in the batter's box in this batting cage, and there's like 20 other guys there, and I first pitch, I remember it looked so big, and I took my swing, and I just completely missed it. I just got this spark in my, like I just had this fire in me, like I was so embarrassed. Like, it's a batting cage, I know where it's gonna go. I know what pitch it's gonna be, and I just completely missed it. So I just got this competitive nature that just came about. And I stayed in that box, and I missed the next one, a little closer, fouled off the next one, and finally I just ripped the line drive right back to where the machine was. And it sparked this memory from when I was a child. My first big hit was using a wooden bat my pops recommended I use. 8 years old, standing in the box, and hitting the ball so perfectly that you don't feel it. The sweet spot. And for my first big hit, my pops got the ball after the game and he wrote Babe Ruth on it. Big double. And hitting that ball in that cage, it was like it just clicked for me. Like, what am I doing? I spent so much time playing this game that I love playing. It brings my family so much joy. It's just something I love. A real big part of me is bringing my family joy. The people I care about most, bringing them joy makes me happy. That's a big reason why I draw. When I was a child, I just get these big pieces of construction paper that my pops would use, and I just draw these huge fight scenes from the Ninja Turtles against the Shredder, Star Wars, and I just cover the whole page, and I give them to my pops, and be like, look at it. Probably terrible drawings, but my pops would be so proud of me and so happy with this thing. He'd like keep it, put it in his work office, and like, my son did this. I just started thinking, I love doing that. I love making the people that I love most proud and happy. So that moment in that cage led to me playing for this travel ball team, which led to me going to another level. And after high school, I went and played at San Diego State for Tony Gwynn. I met this girl, and I thought, this is it. This is my wife. Just like my mom and pops. He married his first girlfriend. I'm gonna marry my first girlfriend. Because I was mirroring my dad's life, because I was just so happy that this guy is my hero and I can live with him every day and learn so much from him. And I wanted to be my dad. And that relationship was what we call in business a roller coaster, and it fizzled out. And it was right after college, where I was starting my professional career, where it's like, what am I going to do next? I felt lost. I felt broken, because my plan of my life that I made, mimicking my dad, was falling apart. And I had this hole. I just felt like this physical hole in my heart. And I couldn't fill it. Not with anything that I could do. And so I was sitting in this room. My pops, he helped me build this room from the garage at his house, so that I can stay there in college and not have to pay rent. And I was sitting there in the dark. I was crying because I just felt so broken. I felt so empty. My mind was in a really dark place. I contemplated my self-worth. Like, if I can't do this, then what can I do? Like, I failed. And I prayed. And I asked God to fill that hole in my heart, because I just felt like I couldn't go on anymore. I can't live with this hole. And I immediately fell asleep. The next morning, I was a new person. It was like a light switch. I just felt energy. I felt like I could smile. And it's like, okay, let's see what I can do. So, from that moment on, we'll backtrack a little bit. When I was growing up, middle school to high school, I was a big worrier. I had trouble sleeping. I would have nightmares about losing my dad, getting eaten by dinosaurs or getting eaten by sharks, and then wake up, tears, go check his room, and he's still there. All right, try to sleep. And I would think about life as, I don't want to fail. And I started looking at life differently after this relationship, after I asked God, fill this hole in my heart. I started looking at life as, what can I accomplish? Instead of I don't want to fail, how can I succeed? God, what do you want me to do with the gifts that you've given me? How can I make this day my best day? Not for me, but for the people around me. There's a lot of people in my life that I can just sit here and just name after name after name that influenced me in a way that changed me for the better, from either their experience or their story that they share from another experience, because that's how I learned from my dad. There was that perspective. Just thinking. That year, that spring training, that after that, my college relationship ended. I met a guy named Chris Malone. He's actually here today. He was my locker buddy in Tucson, Arizona. I think it's the last spring for the Rockies in Tucson before they moved to Phoenix. But I remember seeing, He has a tattoo on his back, it says Son of God. And he's probably the first time he saw me, I was reading my Bible in the clubhouse. And we built this relationship right away. But that, like, little things like that like reassured me that God has a plan for not just me, but for each and every one of us, right? And I make this relationship with Chris. And he ends up, through spring, entrusting me to drive his Cadillac from Tucson to Modesto. And it's like 4 weeks getting to know a guy, and he's like, hey, I think I could trust you to drive my car. I'm like, sure. But that summer was probably the biggest battle mentally and spiritually and physically of my life, because I was letting go of this college relationship that caused me to have a hole in my heart that I invested my self-worth into, and converting to my worth is in what God has made me. I lived at his house, and I remember having these conversations with his mom, Jenny, and I remember she'd say things like, this part of your life, you are just so on fire right now, you just don't even know. And that was like a Christian lingo for like just being like wanting to do everything for God, right? And it's like, yo, man, I can do anything right now. I can do anything. And I was doing pretty well. And then I got hurt. And I just wondering, like, God, I'm thinking I'm doing what you want me to do. Why do I have to deal with more failure? Why do I have to learn from this? What is there to learn from this? And back to perspective. Back to, we all deal with failure in a way, one way or another. And sometimes, for me, baseball was my life. It's all I knew. It's all I know. It's all I learned. And it was because of sacrifice that my dad made. Opportunities that I have in baseball, he never had. So learning from the failure, learning from why I got hurt, and moving on to the next thing. Anyway, my name's Bruce. I'm named after my dad. And so this correlation, this relation to my father is deep in my core. He didn't give me his middle name because his dad gave him his middle name. He didn't like that name. So he gave me his name without that middle name. And when I look at my baseball life and the opportunities that I had and the opportunities that my dad didn't have, I think about how God likes to tell stories. I think about how 1,000 years is like a day, and a day is like 1,000 years. So I get called up. I get called up to play in the big leagues one year for the Rockies after 5 years in the minors, 4 years in college, 4 years in high school. And my dad and mom got to fly out and see me pitch. And after the game, my dad and mom were in the hallway by the clubhouse, and my dad tells me he's never felt so proud. And in the moment, I wasn't thinking about my pops' story. I was thinking about my story. I'm like, I didn't pitch that good. You know, in my head, I can pitch okay, but shoot, I'm probably not gonna stay up. But for my dad, choosing to, he didn't have the choice. He had to work when he was a kid. Living that life, working his whole life to give me my best opportunity to achieve something that he could never achieve. And for him, it took 45, 46, 47 years for something to come about. A dream that he had to something that I achieved. A moment where he almost didn't even make birth. And his whole story of just working and fighting to give the opportunity to the next generation because he didn't have it. So, when I think about God, and I think about Jesus, and I think about self-sacrifice, I think that sounds like something I can relate to. It sounds like somebody I know already. Someone sacrificed their whole life for me that didn't even know me. My dad, it's easy for my dad to sacrifice because he knows me, right? I'm going to share a story. I'll share a couple stories of my favorite scripture. 2 Corinthians 12:9. For my grace is sufficient enough, my power is made perfect in weakness. And the first story that comes to mind is a no-hitter I threw in Loy. We have a clubhouse manager. His name is not important. But he was feeding us food that was expired. In the minor leagues, we don't make much money. $1,500 a month, and you got to pay rent somewhere. So I was paying $500 in rent. You take out taxes, I had enough money for food. And we go to the stadium, and there's a guy that's supposed to give us 2 meals a day. That's supposed to help us in our journey. This guy was giving us expired food and taking a little extra for himself so he can pay his car payments on his, he had actually a nice car. So one day I just got fed up with it. I went to talk to him in his office. It's like, hey, we're giving you this much money a day times this many players, and you're giving us this food. Like, why can't we get regular food? And he took offense, and he got a big argument with me and started coming at me because I was bringing him truth, and he didn't like it. So that night was the night before I was going to pitch, and I didn't sleep at all. I was so fired up. I was so angry that this guy just does not care about us, and he's supposed to care about us. He's supposed to help us. So the next day I go to the field, and I'm extremely tired. And I know I'm going to pitch. And I just go into a bathroom stall, and I sit there, and I start praying. I say, God, just please help me get through this day. Because in baseball, if you don't perform, you lose your job. And then baseball's over. So every game I pitched, every throw I made, you're being analyzed by the coaching staff, you're being analyzed by the big league brass directors and player development people, just to keep your job. You know, not only is it entertainment for the fans, we want to put on a good show, but all those guys are fighting to just stay on the field and get another paycheck, so they get another opportunity to one day maybe stay in the big leagues. Anyway, I'm praying. God, just please help me get through this day. And I get this calm to run over me. And start the game. I feel okay. My arm's pretty loose. And I just tell myself, hey, all right, God, we're going to do this one pitch at a time. One moment at a time. And translate to our lives one day at a time. And so I gave everything I got for one pitch. And then the next pitch. And in my head, I'm just like, okay, God, this pitch. Okay, God, this pitch. And I threw 109 pitches that day. About 98 of them were fastballs. Struck out 9 guys. I threw a no-hitter. The field we're playing at is a hitter's park in Asheville, North Carolina. It had a flat mound. The fence in right field, a short porch, and I threw a no-hitter. And I remember after the game just thinking, oh, okay, well here, I'll even add this little tidbit. The middle of the game, I'm sitting in the dugout, and I'm just like even in between innings, just like, God, just one pitch, God, one pitch. Just tell myself, in between innings. And Ron Gideon, who's one of the guys, the higher ups of the Rockies, his roving coordinator came through and he brought his son with him. And his son actually walked up to me in the middle of the game. He's like, hey, Bruce, you're throwing a no-hitter, keep it up. You're doing great. I remember just sitting there like,
the curse.
Yeah. So I was sitting there like, God, you know, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And that was like in the 4th inning, 5th inning. And so if anyone says that there's a curse in baseball, you tell them that story. It is not true. There's no curse. Because, you know, we just don't know better. And so I think about that scripture. Like, when we are weak, that's when God's strength is made perfect. Because it's not us by ourselves in any moment, in anything that we do. I mean, for me, it was baseball. But I take that same mentality in any situation. We can take that same mentality in any situation. No matter what we're going through, no matter how tired we think we are, we have a God that fills holes. We have a God that lives in us. A spirit that's in us, every one of us. So a couple years down the line, I'm with the Yankees in AAA, and I had some bad, I don't know, the food was left out too long. We had like an extra inning game, so our food after the game was cold, but everyone was hungry, so we just ate. And I got a stomach virus. So like the next 4 days, I was just sitting on a toilet, and I couldn't keep anything in. I could barely hydrate, and I had to get ready for my next start. And it was another one of those things where it's just like, I can't even pick up my feet. I'm walking to the bullpen. It's a day game. It is humid. It is sunny. And I'm throwing my warm-up pitches in the pen. The guy catching me, Austin Romine, he's like short hopping my fastballs. Like, it's embarrassing. In baseball, you don't short hop your fastball. You throw it through your catcher. And it was one of the worst bullpens I ever threw before a game. And I remember he walked up to me and just like, all right, man, hey, here we go. I told him we're walking from the bullpen to the dugout. I'm like, Austin, man, I got nothing today. I have nothing. He's like, dude, don't worry. One pitch at a time. We'll get through this. I think back to them throwing that no-hitter. Just one pitch at a time. 7 innings, 1 run, had like 6 or 7 punchies. It's like, okay, all right, that was a good day, right? But it wasn't because I felt good. It was because there was something else going on. Someone else going on. And I was just used as a vessel. I got a muscle hernia the next week. My next start, it was like the 6th inning. I remember throwing a pitch and something popping in my forearm. And I just didn't think anything of it. Just kind of shook my arm out. And I never got hurt like that before. I was like, it seems okay. And I ended up finishing that game. And the next week, preparing for the following start, I had just this tightness in my forearm. I just felt like I couldn't stretch enough. Go to the trainer. He's stretching me out, massaging it, and I can't. It just won't get loose. Curveballs on my main pitches, off-speed pitches, and I couldn't feel it. So it leads back to the story I told in the big leagues, my last pitch I threw. before my next start, I'm like, I can't really feel the ball, but I'm just gonna keep playing because I was pitching well and I had a chance of getting called up to go to the big leagues. And I get called up. It's like, yes, this is great, perfect timing. I'm gonna be the long relief pitcher. I might have like 2 weeks where I can rest up and be okay. Fly to Fenway Park, I'm sitting in the bullpen, I got all my Yankees gear on. I watch CC Sabathia just deal. Like, all right, travel day the next day. My wife is driving all around the country just trying to follow me. And we're going to New York. And the starter that day, he's had a good year. So I'm good. I'm going to have a couple weeks. I can rest up, get my form right, and then I'm in the big leagues. I have my real shot. He has a bad outing. Fourth inning, he's getting shelled, and I'm the long relief guy. I'm the guy that's supposed to save the pen. Get Billings hot. Like, oh crap, here we go. Start warming up. I can throw my fastball okay, my changeup's okay, throw a little cutter. That curveball, I just can't feel the curveball. So I tell, every time I threw it, actually, it would spin out of my hand, and I'd basically almost throw it over the catcher's head into the stands. So I was like, I stopped throwing it in warm-ups because I'm gonna kill somebody. They call me in, and I tell the catcher, tell Brian McCain, like, hey, don't call any curveballs. He's like, okay, here we go. So actually, first 2 innings, I'm just going fastball, changeup, cutter, and I had like 4 strikeouts. I struck out Mike Trout on 89-mile-per-hour fastball up and in. And I'm in the dugout and my heart's starting to pound. Like, okay, hey, I'm finally doing it. I'm doing what I always dreamed I could do. And I got too excited. Next inning, go out there, a little wild. I'm starting not to focus and see the catcher's glove. I'm starting to see everything. And now the catcher's glove looks farther away. And when a pitcher is thinking like that, you're not seeing your target as something like you're focused on. You're starting to see the catcher and the umpire and the hitter, and now you're seeing the people sitting in the first row, and then your eyes kind of widen out. And when you get to that point, you better step off the rubber because you're not going to throw what you want to throw. But I ended up giving up 4 runs. And it sent me back out there, and just now I'm back refocused because now what I wanted to do, I didn't do. So now I'm just like, I know I'm gonna get sent back down to the minors, and this might be my last time in the big league. So I just didn't care anymore. So that's sitting on the mound. We go back to my last pitch. I faced Albert Pujols. I faced Albert Pujols my first big league outing, and then again when he was with the Angels, and I kept getting him to ground out to shortstop, and just a fastball up and away. But that's beside the point. So that will lead into Taiwan. So I throw that curveball, and I just didn't care anymore. I just totally just said, God, He called this pitch. It's my pitch. I'm just gonna throw it with just complete trust in You, because I cannot feel it. It feels like nothing in my hand. Throw a good one, strike him out. Proceed to go on the DL for 2 weeks, and basically that's the end of my chance to pitch in the big leagues, because it was over 3.5 years. I had like 5 appearances. One of them was a big blow up in Yankee Stadium, and the other one was this last one where my velocity was down, yada yada. It wasn't big league caliber. So I spent the next year playing in AAA for the Nationals. I had a great year, but I was just protecting prospects and just enjoying the game, just trying to make the most of each moment, because I knew maybe my window for being in the big leagues for a long time was over. My buddy recommended I make a resume. In baseball, you don't have to make a resume. Basically, your baseball card's a resume, right? But make a resume, give it to him, and he can hand it out. So I spent a solid, 2 days straight making this resume with my wife, her parents. I'm calling professionals that have been in the game for years, asking their opinion, and we put this resume together. Anybody here play fantasy football? Okay. It's fake football. You draft your own team of players that are in the NFL. You make your roster, and whatever they do, it gets tallied up in stats, and it gets measured in points, and you can your guys against your friends' guys, and most guys do it for money. So I've been doing this fantasy football league for about 10 years with my brother and good friends from high school, and integrity in the league is being questioned. And so I'm like, I'm done. I'm done dealing with this every year. I'm going to start my own league. Start my own league, and I invite some guys that have been playing for the last couple of years, and I was thinking about guys that they like fantasy football, and I respect them. And I know from recent years that they like it. And one of the guys stands out to me, Steve LaRue, a catcher that I played with in the Nationals organization. The first time we met, Steve LaRue is like salty veteran, quiet. He's like a master at ninjutsu or something. He laughed when he heard me say it. But, and I'm like bouncing around, always smiling, just like, I love baseball. I'll shag BP all day long. So he looks at me and he's like, is this guy for real? I don't know if I like this guy. But anyway, once we get in between the lines, I love baseball. I love winning. I love competing. I love testing myself against the best to seeing if I can beat them with my best. And he's a catcher. And he saw that every day. So we built this relationship and we became friends. It went from, he didn't know, he didn't even trust me, to like, yeah, I really like this guy. So anyway, we played fantasy football here, yada yada. Back to this story. So fantasy football, I'm done with my brother's league. There's no integrity. People are just cheating. I'm done. Make my own league. I invite this guy, ask for his email. He goes, SteveLaRue@Cubs.com. I go, oh, at Cubs, what's that about? It's like, oh, you didn't know I'm a championship winning manager of the Cubs organization. It's like, wow, man, you a pitching coach? He goes, serious? And I send him my resume that I just made with the Rockies. And he goes, dude, I'm going to send this to my friends with the Cubs, with the Rangers, and with the Phillies. Okay. 2 days later, I get a text message from a guy that's on an airplane who's with the Phillies that says, we have an opening for a pitching coach job. If you're interested, let me know. I said, yeah, I'm interested. He goes, can I call you? And it's like midnight where he's flying to the East Coast. I was like, yeah, just call me whenever. I'm available. I got it wrong. I'm available. I have a job. He calls me. We talk for an hour as he drives, and he likes me. And he says, all right, the next couple of days, you're going to talk to a few people, be available, have your phone ready. Okay, yeah. I'm ready. My phone's on the charger right now. I'm ready. And we talk, some guys, we just talk baseball. They just want to know if I know the game. We talk baseball. Other guys, they talk more corporate. They want to see how I can speak. Do I have intelligence? So I fool them. And one of the things that comes up in conversation is, do you know TrackMan? I said, yeah. Actually, this past year in Taiwan, I stared at this TrackMan system every day. And I got comfortable with it, so I know it. And I know how to get certain numbers. I know how to get higher spin rate. And I'm like, oh, awesome. Okay. A day later, after 2 interviews in the morning, I get offered the job as a pitching coach for the Philadelphia Phillies. And we go back to perspective. The first team in Taiwan didn't want to hire me back for a guaranteed season for some reason. We weren't signing back unless we were getting a guaranteed contract. The other team offers a guaranteed contract. I signed with them. they have this state-of-the-art system that not many other teams have, especially in Taiwan. And I learned the system, dealing with what I had to deal with in terms of just having to survive and asking God, why are we here? My wife saying, why do you have to do this? I don't want to see you suffering like this. There'd be games that just like I'd come back after the game and I'm just in tears sitting on the couch because physically it's just becoming so hard to compete. But I'm here for a reason. God has me here for a reason, so I'm going to make the most of this opportunity. It ends up helping me get this job as a pitching coach where I don't have to rely on my arm to throw a baseball anymore. That perspective. God has our lives planned out. He gives us our choice. We have free will to make choices. We have the choice today to be a certain way. We wake up today and say, what am I going to do today for the kingdom? Why does God have me here today? Why does God have me speaking to this person today? Or in this situation today? And He has that for all of us. Every day, every moment. To Him, a day is like 1,000 years. So how valuable is this moment that we're all in? Each and every one of us, that we're all in. Whether you're speaking to your grandson, or you're speaking to your son, you're speaking to your neighbor, or you're talking to your wife. Why? Why does God have me here? Living with purpose, living with passion. My dad didn't have a childhood with a father, his father. He had stand-ins, but they weren't his father. And he promised that he was never going to have that for his family. And he didn't. To this day, he still is always there when we need him. Any second of the day. His life, almost not living, working for everything, led to opportunities for me, named after him, to achieve a dream that he dreamt. Perspective. So what does God have in store for you? Or maybe someone that you can touch for tomorrow? Because maybe you could do something today, you could say something today that's going to affect someone 50 years from now to change their life. So that that person can change someone else's life for the better. We know that this world that we live in is not perfect. It's not going to be perfect. We already know. We have a script. So when we come and we have our own troubles, we have our own trials, we know it's all right. It's game day. All right, God, you have me here for this reason, to do something, to be the 1%, to be the salt of the earth. We are the salt of the earth. So if you guys ever come to a point where you might be afraid to make a decision, do something, say something that you know in your heart is the right thing to do, because it's better to do the right thing. It's better to call strike 3 on your son so he learns the lesson now than he learns a lesson later on in life. That's not you. There's no fear in love. We're called to love. So I live my life trying to represent my Father on earth, my Father in heaven. Love my neighbor as myself. Love God. All my decisions are based on that. And if I ever feel afraid to do something, I remind myself there's no fear in love. So if it's tough love, it's tough love. But it's love. So now I'm here with you guys today. And share a glimpse. Just a small window. There are many stories to tell. We all have stories to tell. And I hope that hope I had some for you.
Thank you guys for being here.
Around afterwards if you want to talk to him. Let me pray a blessing as we get ready to go, and then we can hang out. And I know a lot of you guys got other commitments too. So, Lord, thank you for this time. Thank you for the encouragement, Heavenly Father, that you are with us, that you have that perspective that we can't have, an eternal perspective. And you enable us by your power and grace to live in the fullest way possible. So thank you for this encouragement today, told through his personal story, how you have touched him, how you've had his earthly dad touch him. We pray that you would help us to be living fully for you each and every moment, being in the moment, being available to you in every circumstance, and living in a way that would please you. Thank you for the gift of this day, for the chance to be together. Bless us as we move into this work week, and help us to live intentionally and with perspective and passion, so that we might live fully for you. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen.